Hi, everyone. Dr. Victoria Skirbo here, speaking to you from the Seeds of Transformation Healing Center in Wareham, Massachusetts. Today, we're having another episode of High Tea with Denise. Hi, Denise.
Hi, Dr. Vicky. So happy to be here.
I know. Let's toast with our pinkies out.
We really do have tea this time.
Well, actually, I have coffee. Shh, don't tell anybody.
There we go.
One sip.
Cheers.
Cheers. And I do have a little secret in my cup that you think I should share. You saw that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I think it might be funny.
Okay, so this is the cup I grabbed this morning. Now, I just so you guys know, I grew up in New Jersey. That's where my parents lived, and went to school in New York. So that's the area I'm from. And this was the cup I pulled. It's kind of worn now, but it was my father's favorite cup for coffee. That's why I drink out of it. His Trump Taj Mahal cup. And he would always drink the cup. He would drink his coffee from the cup and he'd go, "It's from the Taj."
Well, that was when Trump was still very fascinating, I think.
Well, I didn't, my father was he never talked about Donald Trump ever, but he did love beautiful things. And he sort of leans to the more like ornate, that, sparkly stuff. He was a very, he had a very keen eye, my father. He was a very snappy dresser. Everything he wore was very classy. Like when you touched his suit, you knew it was an expensive suit. Although he wasn't, I guess when he was younger, he was a bit of a clothes horse. But then, he got married and then they got me. And then all the money went to raising me and sending me to school. So, but he still always had some nice suits. But I guess he's here with us because I'm drinking out of his cup. Inadvertently grabbed it this morning when I actually couldn't see what I was drinking.
I have met your father in the ether a couple of times, several times, and he's a lovely, lovely man.
He is got such a beautiful man.
Yeah, he does. He does.
And so how have you been? Things have been shifting, as we know. I'll go first.
Okay.
I've noticed a lot more body aches over the last couple of days, especially yesterday. My husband, Michael, who you know very well, he actually had it the day before. He was like a day ahead of the body ache thing. And today I don't feel quite as achy, but I know that's energetic shifting. So if people are feeling that, that is not, it's something, but it's probably not what you think it is.
Right. Yeah. I in my last video on my YouTube channel, one of the things I talked about was how we're already in the fifth dimension. We're already in the Aquarian age. We're already there in terms of the shift in humanity. The grand shift energetically has already happened.
Yes.
And I watched a video by a woman named Lori Ladd, and she just had this beautiful metaphor. And the metaphor was, and I talk about this in my other video too, but I think it was fascinating. She said, it's like we're a turtle. The turtle knows exactly where to go. The turtle knows what's really going on. The turtle knows the truth. The turtle knows where he's at all times. However, if he decides to, when a shift happens, or he needs to move his body in the same direction as the energy or his desires, it takes a long time because he's carrying a big, heavy shell. And so his head turns, and then he gets one leg moving, and he gets the other leg moving, and he drags the little shell. So that's what humanity's doing right now. Yeah. In our bodies, we are still very connected to the third dimension.
Right.
But our spirits are a soaring path, have soared into the fifth dimension for the most part. There are some super, like really, really grounded 3D types of people on the planet. Definitely, they're not all gone, but for the most part, most of us are in 5D, even if we don't recognize it, even if we don't know what that means. You don't have to know what it means or be on a spiritual path to have experienced this. Everyone's experiencing it in one way or another. So the body is the densest energy in our complex body, mind, spirit system. So when shifts happen, it's really common for the body to take its time in catching up.
Lag behind a bit.
Yeah, and not only that, but have reactions. So it's like kind of like jumping in the pool. If you're jumping in a really cold pool, you know, it's like it's a shock to the system, and it takes a little while to warm up, and it takes a while to acclimate. That's how we are. It takes us a while to acclimate, and we are shifting upon shift upon shift upon shift. It's never ending. It keeps on moving for what I'm going to say. Well, for a long time, we've been chronically shifting, but it's been constant shifting for at least 3 years. We haven't had a break. We haven't had a break. It's been grand shift after grand shift after grand shift, grand energy after grand energy. Yeah. And bodies are tired. The body.
It's been more than that. It's probably been a decade worth of that.
Well, it has been going on for a lot longer than that, but the intensest energies I've been feeling have been the last 3 to 4 years. But yeah, it's been going on since 2008 for me.
Yeah.
Since I became aware.
Yeah, that's when Pluto moved into Capricorn.
Yeah, that's when things started to really change for me.
Yeah, and of course, well, you're a Capricorn.
Oh, so that's when Mercury moved into Capricorn? Is that what you said?
That's when Pluto moved into Capricorn.
Pluto, no wonder. 2008 was a very shifty year for me. It was shifty. It was really shifty. A lot of things happened. There's
probably a rap song in that somewhere, but
absolutely. 2008, shifty.
Yeah. So my experience with the energy is definitely there was a shift in 2008, and 2012 to 2015 was the real hit, because we talked about this last week. I think that's when Pluto and Saturn were making their 7 exact squares to each other. Pluto being the planet of transformation. Did I say Saturn, Pluto, and Uranus? I meant. Uranus, subnet of nowhere changes. Pluto, deeps, evolutionary shifting. It's the thing, Uranus is sort of our higher minds, our mental evolution. So it's a little different than the evolution of our souls, because the soul evolution is more of, works more through the emotional body.
Right.
And so in 2012 and 2015, we had both of those happening simultaneously. And so, and if you happen to have a planet anywhere near those, in those degrees that was happening, you really got hit pretty intensely. And so, you know, it changed everything. It changed everything. And since then, it feels to me like we were activated at that time, and now we're integrating. We're integrating. We're in that. We're on that level now, and now we have to figure out how to integrate. And you know, maybe to a certain extent, even it's not the only variable that probably brought the energy of COVID in.
Oh, no, not the only.
But it's part of it. It's part of it, because you're going to either be in the new energy or you're not going to be in the new energy. And if you get COVID and you pass away, or if you get sick and you stay sick, or, you know, you have things, it doesn't mean that you weren't evolved enough to make it through. It just means that that was the, as I understand it, that's the level, like, that you agreed to be moving through.
Well, I think that people come to the planet for a certain amount, you know, for certain types of growth and certain types of expansion and certain types of lessons. And when it's over, it's over. And you know, I don't think we pick every single individual experience necessarily, but the soul has an overall arching goal. And when it's hit and you're done, whatever's going around is going to kill you. Yeah. You know, or whatever happens, like you could have 2 steps up a ladder and fall and die, or you could get COVID, or whatever. I mean,
right? Yeah, it doesn't.
When you're over, when you're done, you're done. And COVID has been, you know, not to say that death, I would never say that death doesn't equal suffering to the people that are left, because people suffer when they lose the soul, when they lose a friend, a family member. So I have great compassion for people that go through loss. But I don't really feel sorry for the people that die, because they're moving on.
I know.
They're like, yay, woo, they drop the body, they're flying. I mean, I just think it's such freedom.
Yeah,
And
like it's like the Jeffersons, right? Moving on up to the high side, to a deluxe apartment in the sky.
yeah,
Right?
we're moving on up.
Moving on up.
So I think that there's been a lot of talk for a lot of years about ascension symptoms.
Yeah.
That's a big thing. So if anyone out there hasn't ever checked out, Googled ascension symptoms, it would be a good idea. And the ascension symptoms, I Google them fairly regularly just to see what's
They do
going on.
change.
And they do change.
They do change, and they progress.
Mhm.
They progress through stuff.
And different energies bring on different symptoms, and different people will have some of the symptoms and not have others. And so some of the symptoms are body aches and sleeplessness and a little heart racing and confusion, mental confusion,
Anxiety,
yeah, fear can be exacerbated, and it just goes on and on. There's tons of tinnitus in the ear, trouble with the joints. I mean, it just goes on and on. It could affect anyone in any given way. And I think I would like to say to people, one of the things that happens is that people end up thinking they're mentally ill. They think that they're, what's the word? Organically and physiologically wrong, like defective.
imbalanced.
Right. So they go to psychiatrists, or they go to physical or regular, MDs or whatever, and they're absolutely convinced that they have chronic fatigue, or they're convinced that they have debilitating, chronic, forever kinds of horrible types of anxiety, or they think that they have depression. And I want to say, I don't want to negate any of that, because it feels like freaking depression, and it feels like anxiety. Those are the feelings you have, and that's what your body feels like. Sometimes you feel like
very, very real.
It's real. It's real. I am not saying it's not real. It feels really real. What I'm saying, however, the good news is that if in many cases, these things are sort of a cyclical. So when we get hit with these massive energies, we end up in having with these symptoms, and the symptoms especially for the awakened ones that do a little bit of work, that learn a little bit of how to release and learn about trusting guidance, trusting their inner voice, and doing some alternative types of treatments like Reiki or getting readings, or there's a million of them, EFT and all that kind of stuff. That stuff mitigates because it's energetic. These physical things that we have are real. We feel them. They really feel real, but they're not organic. They're energetic. So
yeah, I agree.
In many cases now, that I am not a doctor, so I would not ever tell someone don't go to a doctor, or hey, that's not real, that's only energetic. No, it's energetic is real.
Right. I think, and I know what you're saying, but just to put a finer point on it, we're at a time when we're physically, emotionally, mentally stressed.
Yes.
And the body will respond to that. We're not in, it's not like we can be physically, mentally, and emotionally stressed, and then we can I guess we can find a place of peace. That's what we're trying. That's why we do this. We try to find like that sweet spot where we don't allow that stuff to necessarily run the show, as it were, right? But because it's such a stressful time for the physical body, the first thing for a symptom, if you're having persistent symptom, is to get it checked out, right, by the doctor.
Absolutely.
Okay,
absolutely.
That's the first step.
Mm-hmm.
And what the doctor says you have, is a consideration. If you have to take some sort of emergency or take some sort of medicine because you're in danger of, getting sicker or, having things progress, you do that. But a lot of the stuff is more chronic. It's not like an acute, like, You can have acute symptoms, right? But sometimes it's just a chronic thing. So if you gone to the doctor and they say, well, it's this, that's great, right? So you have something. But my point is, you don't stop there. And I think that's your point. It's like the doctor says, oh, you're depressed. And, what's depression? Depression is perhaps anger that you haven't expressed. You can take all the antidepressants that you want. It's not going to do anything for that anger. It's going to push it deeper. And I think when that happens, then things explode out. Things can only be suppressed for so long. And you have to get to the core issue of it. And so I think that there's the physical, especially now with something like COVID out there, you want to make sure that that's not what it is, because it's going to affect. But beyond that, you don't just stop where the doctor says, oh, you have this, take this pill. And I think that's where it's important that's where you can open up to alternative, either alternative therapies, energetic therapies, all that other stuff.
I would like to share with your audience something that is really apropos to this conversation.
Sure.
Give a real life example of what I was talking about in terms of symptoms being real, but based in energy as opposed to based in something organic. Like, for example, I was diagnosed many years ago as bipolar, and PTSD and generalized anxiety disorder and blah, 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 depression, some kind of depression, I don't remember. I just had all these diagnoses. And at one point I was so low, I gave my power over to the psychiatry field. I gave my power over to the psychiatrist, and they just kept pumping me with meds. And at one point I was on 13 psych meds.
Oh my God.
Yeah, well, they weren't all necessarily psych meds, but they were all related. I had so many side effects from the psych meds. Some of them were to alleviate the symptoms, the side effect symptoms from the psych meds. So I got to tell you, I was the craziest I ever was. I was nuts on those medications. I couldn't walk. I couldn't see. I had to have someone help me walk across the street. I mean, I was like, ugh. I was high as a kite. My kids were terrified. They said, Mom, you're clean and sober, but you look high. Oh, what's up? They were worried. It was really scary. And I didn't use my reason. I just gave up. I gave up for a little while, for a short time. I didn't give up for very long, thank God, because I recovered. But so I went in and I realized, I don't like this lithium. I have to go in and get blood tests every month, and I'm not feeling any differently from the lithium. It's not helping. So I went to the doctor. I said, I'm going to stop taking the lithium. And he said, no, you're forever going to be a bipolar, and you're going to need to be on lithium for the rest of your life. And people that go off lithium have relapses. I said, I've been a living relapse for 6 months. I've never had any up, I've never ever gotten up for 6 months. So I don't think any of these meds are working. Oh, you can't go off the lithium. Well, I finally went off the lithium and changed doctors, and because he was way too opinionated, he didn't want to listen to me. I was just beginning to listen to my own body and listen to what my cues were, and I just kept hearing off the meds, off the meds, off the meds. This is not true of everyone.
That's true.
I want to stop right here for a minute and say that I have met people who had an organic imbalance in the brain, and I can't medically describe what that is. I'm not a physician. They were crazy. One man was bipolar 1, very serious. He was on lithium for many years. He did great, and he became very successful. And he got saved a lot of money and climbed up the corporate ladder, and he was very successful in his profession. He had a wife and kids and a home and the whole thing. And then one day he said, I've been good for so long, I don't think I need these meds anymore. So he went off the lithium. Within 6 months, he was running for president, flying around the country. This is just an average guy. I mean, he wasn't a politician, okay? He was a corporate guy. But in his delusional state, he decided that he was going to become president, and he actually booked dates and to speak at places, and he was flying all around the country, networking, and he was totally believed that he was a sincerely appropriate candidate to become president. He ripped through his whole life savings. His wife left him. He was, he wasn't living in the same, he wasn't in agreement with what was real, in relation to the rest of the world. So he went back on the lithium. Within a week, he was like, oh my God, what did I do? And he came back into his body. And he said, I will never go off lithium again. God bless him. I'm so glad that lithium is there. I don't want to slam psych meds because they are really important for some people.
Right.
Other people, they're a great bridge. People, especially people on a spiritual path, they find themselves with a little tachycardia with their anxiety. And it's frightening to have it. I've had it. And so they go to a doctor and they get a mild anti-anxiety pill or whatever. And I'm just here to tell you, after a while, if you keep growing spiritually and emotionally and doing your work and facing your shadows and trying different kinds of energetic treatments and finding some faith in your higher power, or all that kind of stuff works. Eventually, I got off all the meds, and I have a PRN for an anxiety med, and a lot of people now are using various forms of cannabis,
right,
for lots and lots of different symptoms, pain and anxiety and depression and all kinds of cancer, and it's amazing. So now there are natural treatments. CBD is huge. So I think that, the tide has turned in terms of people really, feeling like they can only rely on psychiatry.
right.
Anyway, I felt better. After I got off the medications, I felt better. And I am no longer a bipolar. Even the last time I went to a psychiatrist, he downgraded my diagnosis to something benign. I don't even remember what it was, but it was something like cyclothymia, I think, which means you have mood swings. All right. I can go with that. I could go with mood swings. Yeah, I do that. So anyway, that was my point there. I don't want people not to go to doctors or psychiatrists or anyone.
No. And yeah, no.
I'm just going to say that if it's an energetic problem, energy is the answer. Energy is the solution.
I never thought you, personally, I know you, so I know you wouldn't go there, but I thought it was worth just saying that because you are under a lot of stress, and the body, it does lag behind, and so we have to be kinder to our bodies. If we're tired, we have to sleep. If we're hungry, we should eat. If we're we have to listen. But really listen, as opposed to have it be like a habitual, like, oh, it's 3 o'clock, it's time for lunch. Wait until you feel like the emptiness in your stomach.
Yes.
Really
start cooking when you're a little empty.
Yeah.
By the time it's cooked, you're hungry and you're ready to eat. Yeah.
Right. But that's just sort of getting in a better relationship with our bodies just in general, which of course we're being forced to do. I saw the most interesting thing last night on MSNBC. They were talking about how COVID was affecting women in corporate America. Oh. And they were saying that all of the benefits of women in corporate America may be for naught because of COVID. Like they're because a lot of women have to stay home with the kids. There's like a choice who's going to stay home with the kids, aren't going to school and all that stuff. So and so I thought, I'm like, wow, women can't fit into the paradigm of corporate America. That's because the paradigm of corporate America is not a tenable way to live. In a way, it really isn't. In a way, it really, if you're 2 people in a house with kids, there has to be more of a sharing. Now, of course, women are taking a lot of times women take the role of nurturer, and then they're working, and then their husbands are doing their work. So there's still this inequality. But I feel as though like corporate America it's not like women have to change. It's that corporate America has to change. I don't know what brought that up. It just sort of floated into my.
Well, that's a really valid topic. I'm really excited about the fact that certain progressive corporations, and there are some major corporations now that are providing daycare in the building. So when mom goes to work, she drops the kid off at lunchtime, comes and visits the child. So the child still feels connected to the parent, the mother or the father, whoever it is, and often it's the mother. And they give plentiful sick days for the children. This is the move. This is where we're heading.
Well,
Okay?
we have to.
We have to.
We have to.
But it's not everywhere yet. And there are a whole lot of women that had to choose between taking care of their kids and taking care of their jobs. And that is just, I mean, keeping their jobs. And that's just wrong. That should not be. That should not be. We're a community. We're in an economy where we can't even survive on one income. Nobody, very, very few families can survive on one income. Even if one's a lawyer or, has a high paying job, there's the kids and the education. And now with the hybrid education and the homeschooling, if there are two parents working, they have to get a tutor or someone in to teach the children or to help them with their lessons on the computer because they can't. So there's huge expenses now related to education that weren't there before. You used to send your kid off on a free school bus to a free school for a free education. And oh my God, it's not like that anymore. So there's always this dilemma. Now,
well, I think there's going to be a reorganization.
It's already happening. The shift is already happening, and they're like
the awareness is happening. The shift yet.
The awareness is happening, and some are moving with it. Many are still lagging behind, and it's the turtle thing again. We know where we need to go, and it's the corporations they're slow about turning that heavy shell around and facing themselves in the direction of change. They're slow in that.
So an interesting thing happened to me this morning when I was talking. I was doing my thing out in the yard every morning. Oh, and big happenings today. Pluto's going direct, so it's big seismic shifts. But I said, I'm going to talk to Denise today. I'm going to have high tea with Denise. Last time we talked about fear, blah, blah, blah. But last time we didn't talk about fear. We talked about anger. And I thought, why did I say that? And then I said, well, maybe we need to look at that. Maybe because this is a fearful time. People are, generally fearful with the COVID and, is it safe to go outside? Isn't it safe? Can I send my kids? Can I not send my kids? All of that, everybody's talking about that. So we don't necessarily have to talk about that. But how about just the emotion of fear and how that manifests in the body, or how we overcome by making just different choices. I always say there's two choices. There's fear and love, and I choose love. It's helped me to get through a lot of times when I've looked at the outer world and said, holy God. Yeah. And then I'm like, all right, just choose love, choose love, choose love. And it's not that easy sometimes, because you look at what people are doing and you just, it's like, like the other night when the president was talking about the Proud Boys, that stuff is like, what? And then I'm like, I so very rarely go on Facebook anymore, because it seems it's such a sewer, really. I mean, I love my friends on Facebook, don't get me wrong, but just everything is like, it's either ads or it's all the stuff. And I have friends who support Trump, and I put the thing on about the Proud Boys. I'm like, how this doesn't bother you? I just, like, it was beyond the beyond, and I was like, just love them where they're at. That's all we can do at this point.
I think that there are a couple of ways to take a generalized look at fear. Let's just kind of go general to the more specific for a minute. Fear, love is the solution to everything. Love is always the solution. Love is always the answer. Love is always the victor. I'm talking about personal love all the way to the impersonal love within the universe. Love takes many, many, many forms, and there are lots of activities and actions that are loving that we may or may not call love, that are solutions to fear. There's lots of mitigations and lots of interventions regarding fear. I believe that even more, the opposite of fear, is lack of faith, is faith, as well as, I mean, love is the solution always. Fear denotes a lack of faith. And that's not a criticism, it's not a judgment, it's just that in the times in my life when I felt the most the lowest, was when I lost my connection to spirit, when I lost my connection to my inner being, when I lost my connection to the grander cosmic awarenesses that I had. And I lost touch. The medications cut that off. The extreme depression, extreme anxiety cut it off. Things in traumatic events, witnessing or having experiences that are traumatic can cut off the connection between the soul and its larger manifestation in terms of the inner being or the creator. I studied Mary Baker Eddy's philosophies for about 8 years, and I learned so much. I learned so much, and I honor that. I honor that tradition so deeply because it changed. It flipped me right around.
Right, Christian Science, in case
Christian Science. Yeah, I hesitate to call myself a Christian Science just because
that was her thing.
I don't practice it specifically in a church anymore. I haven't for a long time. And actually, some of them had a little problem with me. They had to have a meeting. I was a problem child in that church, but
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, I was. Anyway, I don't want to go into that because I love those people. They were doing the best they could, but I kind of, anyway.
We tend to outgrow places.
Part of my mission was to shake them up a little bit because I shook them up. I did my job, but I love a lot of the philosophies. In fact, when I listened to Abraham Hicks, word for word, it's Mary Baker Eddy stuff. Word for word, they're very connected. I mean, it's all the same source. Source is source is source. And there's a lot of source, guidance, energy, and wisdom in that tradition. In the culture of the church, it's like any other church. In the culture, there are factions and there are divisions and there are different ways to see things and ways to interpret things that I didn't agree with. But anyway, the point being, what I learned in that philosophy was that everything that happens that's not in accordance with the creator or source, God, is called an error. They called it an error. So what we were taught was when we felt anxious or we thought we felt sick or we saw discord or disharmony, that it was an error because it wasn't the truth. And the truth is we are always all right. Everything's fine. When we're connected to the divine created us. So there was a divine blueprint when we were born, and we were born into this divine blueprint. So nothing's really wrong except aggressive mental suggestion and error thoughts. That's what's wrong. So we learned how. So I asked this one woman.
Let me ask you, because this is where you get the sense that the opposite of fear is a lack of faith. Did that come from that? From that?
Yeah. I think it did. I think it did. I think it may have started in my consciousness before that, but I think that firmly cemented it. So I asked it when I was new. I have arthritis in my hands. I've had it for a long time. And it's, comes and goes. It still comes and goes. I still haven't resolved whatever that issue is, but hopefully I will. So I went to a very seasoned lady there, and I said, what do I do about my hands? How do I heal my hands? Because they're all about learning about how Jesus healed when he was on the planet and taking those ideas and using them in your own life, which I think is a beautiful precept. It's a lovely idea to build a church around. It's a wonderful thing. And I honor Jesus. Anyway, so she said, oh, well, we don't start with the problem. We don't start with the error. She said, when the vertical relationship is strong, all the horizontal stuff just works itself out. So I didn't know what that meant when she said it. but I'm growing into that idea that when there's something wrong in my life, if I keep returning to plugging into source, to plugging into my own inner guidance system, to listening to the wisdom in my body, to trusting that I am divine and that I am well and I am goodness and I am all that God is, and relieving myself of false beliefs and all that sort of thoughts, releasing things that aren't true, I heal. I'm a living example of that. I've healed so many things in my lifetime, and you knew me when I was still different than I am now. How much did I worry? How much did I suffer over? I emotionally suffered over everything. If someone didn't like me, I suffered. I mean, I was just always suffering about something, and
Right.
I thought everything was my fault, and if somebody didn't like me, I was something wrong with me, and everything. Oh, life was so hard. When I first met Dr. Vicky, God bless her for hanging in with me, because I wasn't all that well at that time.
Well, I think you were.
I was actually already on the mend.
Fine. You hadn't gotten to that point in your development to those things still matter to you.
Right. And faith is whatever you want it to be too. I don't want to make people think that faith is necessarily religious.
Right. Right.
It's not necessarily religious.
Well, as you're talking about fear and faith and love, I thought back, and like as you're talking, I thought back, like, when have there been times in my life when I've been most fearful? I've been nervous about things, like when you first start your practice, you're like, is anybody going to come in? That's a little bit different. That's a different kind of fear. I think the hardest fears for me have been when I've been in a situation where somebody I love was going in a direction that I had no control over, or the control that I had, like, did I do the right thing? Was that the right thing to do? Or even, if I don't do something, is this person just going to go off and in a place where they can't come back from, right? So you kind of, without being personal in that, probably what I'm talking about, because we've been friends for so long. But that is when I felt fear, and I had to let that go, and I had to. It is faith that all things were going to work out as they should. You have to. Sometimes you make decisions,
and you responded with love, despite your fear.
I did well. I wasn't sure.
In the long run,
yes. At the time, I didn't know, and sometimes you don't. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you don't, and I think that's the faith. It's like, all right, I'm going to do this. I have to believe that this is the right thing to do, and then there are times when I still ask myself, was that the right thing to do? And more times than not, I come up with the answer, yes, that's exactly the right thing to do. And sometimes you don't know that until you're on the other, like completely on the other side of it.
Yes, that's true.
Right? So you make the decision, and then you've made the decision, you kind of walk away from the decision because it's already been made. And that process sometimes is a process of, was it right? Was it not right? Was it right? Was it not? And I think you might be right about the faith, but it comes from a place of love, which is kind of what you said. So I didn't even have to say that whole conversation, but I figured I would put my own experience and thank you for helping me, like, have that realization about it.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, that was
why we're good for each other, Vicki, because you raise my thought and my consciousness, and I sometimes help you raise mine. You know what I mean. I don't think I said that right, but we raise each other. We raise each other's consciousness.
We're not going to judge. We're not going to judge.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so fear, people are feeling it, and it's a faith, I think, knowing that it is as it needs to be, and that if you focus on like one of the things I tell people all the time in my morning stuff, and I'm talking to myself. People think I'm talking to myself. I'm trying to convince myself.
So true.
Right?
Yes.
But it works. But it's not like I'm convincing myself and it doesn't work. It works. Focus on what you love. Do something that lifts your spirits and lifts your heart. I know Denise said that she was dancing before she got on today.
Yeah, me with my healing knee replacement. It didn't look pretty, but it felt good.
Yeah, dancing and singing. Anything to raise the vibration. We saw a movie last night. I think you would enjoy it. The King of Staten Island.
Oh, sounds good. I haven't seen it.
Yeah, it was the guy from I don't know if you watch this, but the guy from oh my God, Saturday Night Live. I can't think of his name off the top of my head.
A comic?
He's one of the guys on Saturday Night Live. He's a young guy.
Jimmy Fallon?
No, that was, you're showing your age. This is somebody current. I can't think of his name, and I apologize for that. But it's based on, it's semi-biographical, and it's about this kid whose father was a fireman, and he died in the line of duty, and his journey through grief and anger, and then it was really, I mean, some of it was like a little bit contrived, some of the stuff, but it was really kind of sweet, and I think you would really enjoy it. And the thing I liked about it is it made me laugh and it made me cry. It made me feel things, and it is important, even at a time when you say, well, aren't you feeling enough? But to see how people overcome, some of the most challenging, and overcome it, like not by themselves and not simply by their connection to spirit. Oftentimes it's they're overcoming it by their connection to other people.
Well, that is spirit, though.
Right, of course it is.
Everyone is connected through energy. Energy equals spirit. It's there's no, you can't really separate energy from spirit, in my opinion. I mean, and people don't even have to be spiritual, have spiritual language, or go to church, or be on a conscious spiritual path to make use of this loving, healing energy that changes worlds. They're still connected to the Creator no matter what, and they have these impulses and they follow them, and they're living a beautiful life, and they're helping each other. It's a wonderful thing. You don't have to even believe in it. If you just believe in things like everything happens the way it's supposed to, everything happens for a reason, those are faith-based statements, no matter what tradition you're talking about. Those are faith-based statements. I wonder what the lesson is in this difficulty. That's a faith-based statement, saying, oh, I'm in this because I have to learn something. That's a faith-based statement. So one thing that I think I would like to bring up, if you don't, did I interrupt you? Did you finish your point? I'm sorry.
Well, there was one other thing I wanted.
I do tend to do that sometimes.
Well, sometimes. But I mean, if it's bare bad, I'll let you know.
Okay.
We've known each other long enough. But I was thinking how, one of the things that we need to do as a collective, as we move forward, is to get over our fear of our differences, right? Because we're not all that different. And there have been people in positions of power who have pushed fear. It's not a new thing. I mean, it's certainly not a Republican Republican thing. I mean, the Republican or certainly the president is, stoking fears with this talk of Antifa and all this other stuff. I was going to call it something else. But then you have the Democrats, stoking fear about the Russians. The Russians can't really do anything to us unless there's an opening for them. Like, I mean, I'm talking about the psychological stuff more than the actual, like technological stuff.
Right.
But, I feel like if there's a button to be pressed, they'll press it. And so, and I don't mean a physical button, I mean a metaphysical or metaphorical button. So what do we have to do? We have to work on ourselves so the button's not there anymore. We have to, you know, heal the fear that we have of difference, and heal the guilt around what we've done to blacks and what we've done to Native Americans. And
Well, and I think those of us that are awakened and have been on the planet for a while and working towards love and working towards growth, many people feel a tremendous amount of guilt about how white people treated the indigenous people and how people treated the slaves from Africa during the time of slavery and since then. And
then you have other people who don't who don't even have the consciousness that that's a thing.
Right. Well, guilt never served any purpose, and there is no good reason for anybody to feel guilty. And
that's coming from a Capricorn.
Believe me, it took many years to get here. Okay, yeah. That was not an easy lesson for me to learn, but I really believe deep down in my soul that there is no right and wrong, good and bad, and there isn't any reason for guilt, shame, blame, or any of that stuff, because all we have to do is focus on our own alignment or lack of alignment. That's the only thing that counts. That's the only thing that matters. And that's the only way we can change the world, is by being in alignment as much as we can. So there's no good and bad. There's only alignment or lack of alignment. And when we're lacking alignment, you know, find somebody to help you figure out how to get back into alignment, or read a book, or, you know, watch a YouTube, or talk to your therapist, or whatever you need to do. Call a life coach, call an astrologer. That's what it's all about. And because there's no blame, and there's no shame, and there's no judgment. The Creator has no judgment.
Right.
Earth has no judgment. We created that. That's a human creation, actually miscreation, I would say, but not, because everything happens the way it's supposed to. So getting rid of shame and blame and guilt are gonna diminish fear. Working on those things individually, which will ripple out into your own personal relationships, and then ripple out into the world. And, you know, when I relieve myself of some kind of guilt, I can teach someone else. When they feel guilty toward me, or I can say, "Oh, you didn't do anything wrong. You know, you did what you had to do. You know, you did the best you could at the time." And that's another thing. We do the best the best we can at the time. So we're getting off into guilt a little bit, but I'd like to bring up the idea of fear also being lack of acceptance.
Well, interesting. Guilt and fear are archetypes associated with Capricorn, and Pluto.
Why do I want to talk about them?
Pluto is in Capricorn, of course. Since 2008, we talked about how things, before we got on, we talked about when things really changed for us. And you said 2008. I said, well, that's on Pluto when it's Capricorn. But Pluto is stationing direct today. It's going to start moving forward. And when that happens, there's usually that whole guilt and fear and all that stuff can get like dusted up. Right. And so it's something that we have to face at this time.
Yes.
So guilt, fear, pain, all of that.
Shame, blame.
Yeah, blame. Yeah, big time. And it's really about it's really about realizing that this is a moment that we can drop all that stuff.
We can choose really differently. We can choose differently. We can choose differently.
Drop it, move into love, and then move into healing. Now, I don't want to keep people too long, because I think we've been on for about an hour. But if there's something that I know, right? Time freaking flies when we do this. So if you wanted, what was it that you wanted to?
One point that I think.
I want to make sure you have enough time to give it justice. Otherwise, we'll wait till the next time.
I just want to say one thing. I would like everyone in the world who hasn't already been working on acceptance, work on acceptance, because acceptance is the antidote for almost everything. Right. Is one of the it's a major antidote for almost anything. It's definitely an antidote for fear, and it's definitely an antidote for shame, blame, and guilt. The thing about acceptance I learned in AA, and I wish I had the whole quote in my head, I don't. But when some person, place, or thing seems to disturb me and I can't get past it, then it's time to look within and figure out, what is it about me that is not an acceptance of what is. And that's a serious paraphrase, but it's a powerful statement in the big book of AA. And when I'm feeling any of those things, and Vicki, you were my grandest teacher for this. Whenever I call and say, I feel like so mad at that woman, or I'm so scared, or I feel so sad, or whatever, you say, what is it about her that reminds you of yourself? What is it about her? You said that to me so many times. It really helped me because I really kept shifting it back to me. So if I'm upset or in fear or whatever, mad, angry, whatever, there's something I'm not accepting. So what is it that I'm not accepting? And move into acceptance, because I cannot create in anybody else's energy field. Nobody can create in anybody else's energy field. We can only create in our own energy field. So let's be in acceptance and move on and let go. Let go and let God. All right. I know we're running out of time. So
I think that, you know, to round that off, that acceptance, that the energy of acceptance is a surrender to
yes.
spirit and to your own soul, that even if things aren't working out the way you think they should, another Capricorn word that we need to drop, that it's happening as it needs to happen, or as it is happening.
You know, the phrase, it is what it is, that's so big right now. It is what it is. It is. And the other one, whatever, it is what it is, whatever. Well, those are not in the common colloquial language for no reason.
Right.
They're planted here because those are the lessons we need to learn. It is what it is. It is what it is. And let it go. It is what it is. Leave it alone. That's it. So.
I've been trying to, you know, it's so funny. I've been trying to find the name of the guy who's in that movie, and because everybody will comment below, like with it, like it's so and so, and for some reason Google is giving me the hardest time. So just, I'm not going to give up. You know,
I'll keep talking if you need me to. Now you know I don't have a problem with that.
You didn't have what? A problem?
I don't have a problem with talking.
Oh, no, just give me a second. If Michael was down here, he would tell me because he would remember. All right, I'm going to get rid of that. Let's try a different Google. I swear to God. Oh, I'll do it here. Hold on.
I'm holding.
Am I making you nuts? Because I'm making myself nuts. Oh, let's do it this way. The King of Staten Island. Let's see if that works. Doesn't work.
Okay, well, you know what? Let's accept it is what it is, and we'll find that out exactly when we're supposed to, Vicki.
So that kid.
Be an acceptance about not knowing something. It's just
so there's a perfect example.
Yes, there is.
To end our chit chat on. So this was fun, Denise. This was I think timely, and as you know, as we say, this is for entertainment purposes. Yes. It is not. We are not here to diagnose or tell people how to deal with their. We're not telling people how to deal with their issues. We're kind of letting people know how we've dealt with our issues, and how we've been able to find our way through some challenging moments in our lives. And it's at this point, you know, with everything that's going on, it's still working for us, right, Denise? So
amen. It is working. As
it works, as long as it's still working, we'll talk about it. When it stops working, we'll figure out what else works, and we'll talk about that as well.
Could I make one quick statement? I'm going to be doing it either 2 or 3, probably 3-part series on extreme empaths over the next week or 2. Yeah, codependent empaths.
Where are you doing that? Wait.
On YouTube.
Oh, you go on your channel.
Yes, on my channel.
Reverend Denise M. Roberge.
Right, Reverend Denise M. Roberge. Rev. Denise M. Roberge. Yeah.
Right. I'll put it in the descriptor.
Okay.
Your YouTube. That stuff is really, really timely.
I want to talk about raging empaths because the world is loaded with them right now, and
they're the polar opposite of the narcissist.
They are. Well, they care so much. They care. They're so care. They don't even know what to do with it, and it comes. Well, anyway, you have to watch my video.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I'm going to watch it.
Give it all away right now. So, and I want to thank all of Vicki's subscribers that have emailed me and sent me messages, and I'm going to be getting a couple of you are going to be having some sessions with me, and I'm very excited.
I have a lovely group of watchers.
You really
They're
do.
just,
You do.
I feel so supported all the time. Like they're always thanking me, but quite frankly, it's definitely a two-way street. They're just lovely, lovely people who really care, about what's happening in the world. They really care about, you know, things like raising the vibration. And there's a lot of really beautiful and powerful people out there, and I honor them, and I honor you as one of my friends and guides and sisters on the path. It's a real pleasure. It's a real pleasure to know you, Denise.
A pleasure to know you, Vicki. You have made you've been instrumental in my life, and I don't think the viewers want to hear all my gushy stuff, but you're a really important lady in my life, and I know in thousands of other people's lives. So
I just have one quick question.
We're never going to end. People just stay tuned. We're never going to end this.
Well, no, this will end it, I think. So I have people say to me, I heard your voice in my head. To me, do you hear my voice in your head sometimes?
Yeah, frequently. I do, even when we're not on the phone. Yes. I do hear your voice, and there are certain times and things that you've said to me over the years that when I hear it back in my head, it's in your voice. It's not even in my voice. I do. I really do. And I have coaching clients that say the same thing. They're like, I was out at this party and I met this person and I had this experience and this thing happened, and then I heard your voice in my head say, red flag. I'm like, oh, I like that. I like people becoming aware of stuff that they need to become aware of because of something that maybe I helped them with, you know, some phrase.
And it's all in love. It's all
in love. I love you, Vicki, and I love all of you. Thank you.
Take care, guys. We'll be back for another session. We don't exactly know when, and we don't know what we're going to talk about. In fact, we didn't know what really we were going to talk about when we started this morning, but
people could leave suggestions if there was anything they were interested in, right?
What a great idea. You're such a genius.
Incredible.
My problem is I forget to ask for help. So I just assume I have to come up with everything, but I guess I don't.
No, you can trust me a little bit on this show for the high tea. You can trust that I'm going to help you with that.
All right.
All right.
All right, honey. See you in a bit. You take care. Love ya. Love everybody. Namaste. All our love to you. Take care.
Bye.